With the release of Mario and Luigi Brothership, there are now 4 completely different Mario RPG series available on Nintendo Switch. And while a lot of people might know the differences between them, I'd wager there's a lot of people that are probably a little confused on why we have this many different series. So in this video, I want to give a brief overview of all 4 series, giving you the insight of how each game plays, what games are available on Nintendo Switch, and which one I would recommend to different types of gamers. If you like this type of content and want to see more, why not drop a sub? I'm trying to reach 10k before the end of the year, and any support would go a super long way. I'm going to start with what I believe is the most beginner-friendly of all Mario RPG series, Paper Mario. To start, there are 3 Paper Mario games available on Nintendo Switch. You can play the original Paper Mario for the N64 if you have Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass, and there is also Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door and Paper Mario the Origami King. For this video, I'll mainly focus on Paper Mario 64 and Thousand Year Door because Origami King is actually not an RPG, but rather an adventure game. And if I talk about that game again, I will get death threats. The main takeaway about Origami King is that it is fundamentally different from these two, so try it if you're curious, but don't expect it to play very similar to what I'm about to describe at all. The Paper Mario RPGs really do simplify a turn-based RPG to its bare necessities. If you find yourself getting overwhelmed in RPGs by having too much gear, stats, and options, I think one of these games is a great place to start in the genre. Paper Mario's strongest aspect is generally its chapters. While the overarching story will more or less be a Peach getting kidnapped scheme, every individual chapter on your way to save her is filled with such wild and fun scenarios, like helping a haunted mansion full of boos fight back against a giant boo-eating monster, or Mario fighting his way to the top of the ranks in a wrestling league. These chapters will consistently surprise and delight you from just how weird they can get. In terms of combat, it is heavily based on action commands. Every attack in the game requires a different type of input, which upon successful execution will result in extra damage. This also applies to blocking, where you can time your button press with an attack hitting to reduce the damage you take. This system makes the game feel a lot more active than a traditional turn-based game, while not being as difficult as something like active time battling. I think it's also worth noting the numbers in this series. They're very small, which I think makes it a lot easier to understand what they actually mean. Like if an enemy has 1 defense and you attack it with a 2 damage attack, it will do 1 damage. A lot of RPGs have these huge numbers flying all over the place, so the simplicity is definitely welcome. The other big draw of these games is the partner system. On the field, partners have helpful abilities that are used for movement, puzzle solving, and avoiding enemies, while in battle, they function as your second party member. Each partner has their own array of attacks, status effects, and useful buffs that make them unique. Not to mention, they just have fun designs, and I like them. Most of the complexity of this game comes from the badge system. This essentially allows you to customize your Mario however you want, equipping different attacks, increasing stats, or even changing things on the overworld. While this system might seem a little daunting to some, it is not only totally optional, but also really intuitive. You can equip as many badges as you have badge points for. Stronger badges require more badge points, and you can swap them out at any time from the pause menu. This flexibility allows you to try out different builds without the permanence of something like a skill tree. Paper Mario, to me, is the easiest and most approachable series on this list, which is why I don't find it hard to recommend to anyone. Players new to RPGs will be able to pick it up no problem, while more experienced players will probably still find a lot to love in the badge system and the fun and wacky scenarios. Both Paper Mario RPGs on Switch will probably take you roughly 20 to 30 hours to complete, so beware if that kind of time sink is intimidating to you. Next, let's talk about Super Mario RPG. This game is a remake of an SNES game which is not available to Nintendo Switch Online members because Nintendo wants your money. Unlike the other series on this list, this game is not really part of a series. The original game never got a true sequel. This game was notably developed by Square Enix, and you can definitely tell by the way it plays. I think if you're a fan of that classic SNES RPG feel, this game will probably be a good fit for you. The remake does a really good job of preserving that classic feel and adapting the pixel art style and animations to an HD look. I think when compared to the other series in this list, one of the big draws of this game is just the uniqueness of it. You have all these weird character designs and such a different world design that you really won't see in Mario again. It's really that weird SNES Square Enix touch that makes this game such a standout to so many people. In terms of battling, this game also feels a lot more traditional. While there are still action commands in this game, they definitely feel a lot simpler in this one, usually just being a timed button press rather than a bunch of different inputs. Compared to Paper Mario, you do have a lot more options inside of fights. You get 3 party members here at a time, and they all kind of fall into more traditional RPG archetypes, like physical attackers, mages, healers, you get it. And between these party members, you have a lot more moves and a lot more types of moves. Going with that more traditional RPG feel, there's also a lot of gear and stuff to equip and customize your character's stats. This is absolutely the shortest of any Mario RPG game, as a full playthrough will likely take you around 8 to 10 hours. This length can definitely be a little refreshing, but if you're used to and looking for those beefier experiences, then you definitely get more bang for your buck with some of the other titles. I think if you love more old school styled RPGs and that shorter runtime is appealing to you, then this is definitely the game for you. It still has all the charm and accessibility you'd expect from a Mario adventure, but just a little different. While I myself have not played Mario and Luigi Brothership yet, I have played every other Mario and Luigi game, so in this section I will focus more on series quirks and vibes rather than Brothership itself. On the Switch, you can buy both the brand new Mario & Luigi Brothership as well as gaining access to the original Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga for the GBA if you have the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass. Mario & Luigi's main gimmick has always been that brotherly bond between them, having them move together, combine to do special traversal moves, and even battling together. Mario is A and Luigi is B, which makes the combat feel a lot more active. Not only do you have to time a button press to avoid taking damage, but you have to react to which brother you need to be controlling. Or you could just press both buttons, I guess, like nothing's really stopping you there. Regardless, this is definitely that classic Mario turn-based battling with action commands, just turned up to the highest level, as the basic inputs are already much more complex, and then the famous Bros attacks just go absolutely wild. While Superstar Saga will probably take you roughly 15 to 20 hours to beat, it's been reported that Brothership is closer to the 30 to 40 range. I will note that a lot of coverage of this game has suggested that the beginning is very slow and tutorial heavy, and while I can't directly confirm that for Brothership specifically, I can say that the past few games in this series have all had a similar issue. Paper Jam, Dream Team, even Bowser's Inside Story all have a bit of an early game tutorial plague that you just have to slog through to get to the good stuff. If you've played a lot of RPGs, you may be used to this kind of it gets good 10 hours in type pacing, but I'm sure a lot of people also do not have the patience for that kind of thing, and it definitely feels like more of an issue here than with any of the other Mario RPG series. I'd recommend the Mario and Luigi series if you really value a super solid combat system. The combat in these games is just so incredibly fun when you get the hang of it, and there really is nothing else like it out there. You may be in for a bit of a longer time commitment overall here, but these games are still incredibly charming with their writing, world building, and unique sense of style. Finally, we have the strangest Mario RPG series on the Switch, and that is Mario plus Rabbids. These games are just so bizarre, like in concept and gameplay, because not only is it a crossover between Mario and Rabbids, but it's also a tactical RPG. On the Switch, we have both Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle and Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. If you want an example for how this game plays, think XCOM. If you don't know what XCOM is, think Fire Emblem with guns. If you still don't get it, I don't know, I tried. Essentially, combat is set up on a grid map, and with access to 3 party members at a time, you get to plot out each character's movements every turn. When moving your characters, you want to consider if they are within range of an enemy, are they behind cover, is it worth risking a 50% chance to hit this guy behind half cover? Fuck! Then you get to see the enemies do the same thing on their turn and repeat. Somehow, this incredibly strange mishmash of things comes together quite beautifully. There's a lot more to think about here than in any of the other combat systems I've described today, and if you like that more tactical gameplay, this game will probably scratch that itch. Sparks of Hope changes things a little bit, going from the grid system to this more free-form circle style, and also changes the combat to be a little more active. Rather than routing out a path, you get to move your character freely until you've expended your options. So if you're debating which one of these to get, I'd probably focus on that aspect. Which gameplay seems more appealing to you? because although I haven't finished either of them, I can't imagine the story demands you play Kingdom Battle first or anything. Both games will probably take you roughly 20 hours to beat as well. I will say these games were definitely not for me. I've played a small portion of the first game and did not buy the second one. It's not like I stopped playing these games because they're bad, it just didn't click for me. But this game does click for a lot of people. These games are probably the most divisive Mario RPGs as the gameplay is just so different from anything else Mario's ever done, which can be disappointing for some or exciting for a lot of others. It just depends on the person. If you want something like truly unique from the traditional Mario RPG, or you have a soft spot for tactical RPGs, these are definitely the games you should try. I think by virtue of the gameplay style, this series is a little less universally appealing, but nonetheless an incredibly unique and charming experience if you can get into it. There we have it, every single Mario RPG available on the Switch. My final thoughts are, if you want an easy to pick up game with really fun settings and scenarios, go for Paper Mario. If you want a short and sweet classic style RPG, go for Super Mario RPG. If you value a really cool and unique turn-based combat system, go for Mario and Luigi, just watch out for the long runtime. And if you want something crazy different or enjoy tactical RPGs, then try Mario plus Rabbids. There really isn't a wrong choice here, as all the RPGs I've talked about today are very well made and have a lot of charm. Even the most complicated, being Mario plus Rabbids, it's still very accessible because, well, it's a Mario game. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and tell me what your favorite Mario RPG is in the comments below. Obviously, I tried to keep this video pretty simple to give people a quick glance into each of these series, but I'd love to talk more about any of these games except for Origami King. Goodbye!